Hey guys, if you want to see my top 5 eyeshadow palettes for fall and all the swatches from these palettes, then keep on watching. Alright, so let's just get right into it. So yeah, it's my top 5 fall palettes, so palettes for autumn, and then there's one kind of bonus palette that's kind of number 6 just because it's a limited edition palette that I just had to put in here because I love it all year round, but especially for fall. So they're in no particular order, but let's just get started with what's on my eyes right now. So on my eyes right now, besides the inner corner highlight and the brow highlight, which is an ABH Glow Kit, the Sugar Glow Kit. It's actually my favorite glow kit from ABH, the Sugar Glow Kit. I just wanted a really bright inner corner highlight, so I think it was in the shade Marshmallow from ABH, that glow kit. But besides that, everything else on my eyes is from the Huda Beauty Warm Brown Obsessions palette. It's this mini palette, and it's so convenient for travel. It's so pretty. Let me show it to you. It looks like this. It's just really small, very compact. You can open it up, and it's just perfect for travel, like I said. Look at all these colors. It's actually all mattes, but one shimmer. And matte palettes like this, because the colors are so different, yet they kind of blend together effortlessly. I mean, they're all unique. It's not like she has 2 of the same color in there. You know, they're very unique yet very kind of blendable colors that play well together. So it's just one of my favorites. On my last big trip I took back to the States over Christmas break, I took this with me, and I actually got complimented on my eyeshadow one day by some random girl. She was just like, "Oh, what's on your eyes? It's so pretty." And it was this. It was the Huda Beauty Warm Obsessions palette in warm brown palette. It's oh my god, I can't speak. It was this warm brown palette from Huda Beauty, so I let her know. This is just perfection in a little mini palette. Initially, I wasn't gonna purchase, I think, any of her kind of Obsessions palettes when they first came out, because I was like, oh, they're so tiny and you're spending how much for them? But after I tested out this one and the smoky one, I really, really like them. So, and the pigmentation, the blendability, it's just, they're so good. So yeah, this is in my top 5 for sure. I will never be without this palette, and it's perfect if you want kind of warm neutrals. So let me swatch all of these for you on my arm and show you what the shades look like. So these are all the shades swatched on my arm. They're so pretty. Let's get some close-up so you can see how these shades look. They're just really pigmented, really pretty. Sorry about that ivory shade. It's pretty much my skin tone. And look at that shimmer. Oh my goodness. I just adore this warm brown Obsession palette. Oh, and I don't think I showed you my nail polish. So today I've worn this before in a couple of my other videos, and it's OPI's Just Spotted the Lizard. A perfect nail polish for fall. It's a dupe for this kind of cult favorite from Chanel, the Chanel nail polish in Peridot. And also there's a similar polish that's coming out in this fall collection of KL polishes. So I think her shade, the name is Medusa. So I did get that. I did purchase the fall collection from KL Polish. Her fall collections are my favorite from all her nail polish collections. It's always the fall collections. I love fall. It's my favorite season. So yeah, I got that just because I use this one so often. It's about 1/3 of the way done. So once it's finished, then I can go on to the Medusa polish from KL Polish. But yeah, just FYI, love this one from Just Spotted the Lizard from OPI as well. So next up is this Smashbox Covershot palette in Ablaze. It's also like a mini palette and perfect for traveling because of the compact size as well. And I love this palette. Like I mentioned before, Smashbox Covershot palettes are kind of hit or miss, but this one is amazing. All the shades just work flawlessly on the eye. It's gorgeous. You can make a variety or create a variety of looks. I just cannot speak highly enough of this palette. It's one of my all-time favorites, especially for fall. So let me swatch these for you now so you can see all the shades. It's so pretty. If I had to recommend one Covershot palette from Smashbox, it would definitely be this Ablaze palette. And my second favorite palette from the Smashbox Covershot line is probably the Vlada and Smashbox kind of collab. I just purchased that recently and I adore it. The pigmentation and the way those shadows perform, every single one, it's very similar to this palette and how they perform. So if you are a fan of this Ablaze palette, you will adore the Smashbox and Vlada palette because every shade is just perfect in that palette as well, just like with this one. There are no shades that are kind of chalky or that you have to build up. So yeah, so let me swatch these for you. Here are the swatches on my arm. Sorry about that ivory shade in the middle. It's also a great kind of all over shade to lay over top your eyeshadow base if you have skin tone that's around my shade. The pigmentation of all these shades is intense. It's amazing. I love this palette. And it's a bonus that it's so easy to travel with. You can make really nice kind of sunset eyes with this palette. Alright, so next up is also a pretty compact palette. It's the Rust Stack from Melt. But I would not recommend traveling with these stacks because they're magnetic. They're still it's very easy for them to kind of just come apart, and then you'll just have, you know, broken shadows all in your makeup bag. So even though it's fun to have these, it's not, in my opinion, very conducive for travel. So, but I do love this, so I just use this when I'm at home, not when I'm on vacation or something. So let me show you each of the shades. So first, there's a perfect kind of ivory, kind of a skin tone shade if you're around my skin tone. It's a very nice matte shade. It's a very nice matte shade. Then you have this kind of tangerine light, kind of creamsicle orange shade, perfect to place in your crease, to warm up your crease. It's just gorgeous. Then you have my favorite shade of the entire palette. It's this super warm brown, and it kind of is just the perfect fall transition shade for your crease as well, to deepen that up, and it's kind of the color of my earrings too. It's perfect. I have a very similar shade from Bobbi Brown. It's a Bobbi Brown eyeshadow single that I take with me traveling all the time to put in my crease. It's very similar to this. And there's this kind of deep espresso brown. It almost looks black in certain lights, but it's a deep espresso brown. It's perfect to drag in your bottom lashes, or it's very nice to use this in place of a liquid liner on your upper eyelid. And here's the color Rust, a super warm reddish brown shade, very pretty. I just love how wearable this entire stack is. This is a perfect all matte kind of eyeshadow palette, eyeshadow stack, if you will. Like, it's just amazing. This is the type of all matte sort of eyeshadow set that I love. It's just really pretty. Whatever look you want to come up with, it just works. Whether it be kind of a everyday natural look or a smoky eye, these shades are just super pigmented, super blendable, and honestly some of the best eyeshadows on the market, I think, and you get a lot of product. Not to mention, I really love supporting indie brands, especially brands that have this kind of quality. So yeah, I will keep supporting Melt. I love Melt Cosmetics. Great eyeshadows, and their liquid lipsticks are up there in my probably top 2 or 3 brands of liquid lipsticks. Can't speak, guys. So let me swatch these on my arm for you. Here are the shades. They're very pretty, super pigmented, and this is actually my favorite Melt stack, this Rust stack. It's my baby. So my list of favorite fall eyeshadow palettes would not be complete without this Natasha Denona Sunset palette, because oh my god, I love this thing. I love it. It is just so pretty. on social media and YouTube videos. It's pretty, it's gorgeous, but this is just on another level. The shades in this are just perfection, and I especially love the shimmers in here. Natasha Denona, in my opinion, does a really great shimmer shades. And just look at the packaging. I love her kind of packaging where it looks like this, not so much the kind of hardcover packaging she's done with, let's say, the Safari palette or the Tropic palette. I prefer these sorts of palettes from her. So here are all the shades. You know how I said the Smashbox Covershot palette in Ablaze, you can do a really nice sunset look? This is kind of the more extended version of that, the kind of like eyeshadow palette on steroids, if you will, of that version of that. This is just glorious. I love this. I would not travel with this just because a lot of her shimmer shades, and then she has some of those glitter shades, are on the softer side, so I wouldn't want them to shatter. If I had to recommend one of her bigger palettes, and this is including like the massive kind of greenish palette and the massive kind of bluish purple palette, and then the ones that are this size, I would recommend this one. This is the palette that I just adore. This is just super gorgeous. Let me swatch these shades for you. So let me show you all the shades. Here they are. There are a lot of shades. They are so pretty. Look at how completely kind of foiled those shimmers are. She makes some of the best shimmers on the market, in my opinion. The only shade that doesn't work as well as all the other shades is the kind of matte yellow. That's the only shade I was disappointed with, and I talk about that in my kind of Natasha Denona eyeshadow video where I kind of go through all the shades. So, but besides that yellow, every other shade is just amazing. Alright, so next up is this A Queen of Hearts palette from Colored Raine. This palette was so popular when they initially released it, I think as a limited edition palette, and it sold out that they brought it back another time, and then they just decided to, I think, make it permanent. So I got this after they made it permanent, and I adore this palette. Oh my gosh, the shades in this palette and how these shadows perform are just mwah, perfection. If all Colored Raine eyeshadows are like this, I need to try out another one of their palettes because this palette is just perfect, and I love the combination of shades in here. So this is a sleeve. It comes out like this, but I keep the sleeve because look at how pretty that sleeve is. Look at how pretty. At this palette. The shades are just amazing. It's the perfect palette if you want to go for more purplish skewed fall looks, autumn looks. It's just one of my all-time favorite palettes ever. So let me swatch these for you. So here are all the shades. Let me get closer for you and kind of go down. The shades are gorgeous, and these shimmer shades perform very much like the Natasha Denona shimmer shades. Look at all these shades. Look at how perfect they are for kind of a more purplish sort of fall look. So pretty. Here's one last look at all the shimmers and all the mattes and every single shade. So pretty. Alright, so this last eyeshadow palette's my number 6. It's the bonus palette. So it's technically my top 6, but I had to add this because I adore this palette also from Melt Cosmetics, the Gemini palette. Unfortunately, it's a limited edition palette, and I don't know why they just haven't made this permanent because there's so much love and so much demand for this palette, and for good reason. It's the perfect kind of a warm, neutral look with these pops of green in there that they're just perfect all year round, but especially for fall if you want that kind of warmer look with the addition of some greens in there. And the olive greens, let me just show you. Oh, and the exterior, look at that. I mean, come on. Is that not the most kind of gorgeous palette you've ever seen? And look at these shades. You have the warm browns, the warm neutrals. You have those sorts of greens in there. It's just the perfect look if you want some warm browns and greens. I mean, this is a perfect palette. Please make this permanent, please. Oh, look. My nail polish is like the metallic version of that shade Leo. Ugh, so pretty. Love all the shades, especially every single one of those green shades, those 4 shades at the end. You can totally create a variety of eyeshadow looks. So yeah, maybe you can bombard Melt Cosmetics to make this permanent or bring it back and make it permanent, because you guys will not be disappointed with this. It is actually my favorite limited edition palette from any makeup brand that I own. Favorite. Love this. Love, love, love this. It's probably in my top 10 palettes ever. Alright, so here are all the shades from swatched from this Gemini palette. Sorry for the wonky swatches. I'm not that great at swatches, but they perform beautifully on the eye. Beautifully. And oh my gosh, the one kind of shade that was a surprise to me, because I really bought it for the greens, was this kind of rose gold shade. Really pretty. But for me, the star of the show has to be those 4 kind of green shades at the end. Have them all on your eye. They're actually quite different there. Here's a close-up of the 4. They're very different, and they work seamlessly together. Alright guys, so that was the end of my top 5 eyeshadow palettes for fall, for autumn, and then that bonus palette. That's a limited edition palette that I hope Melt will bring back and make permanent. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. So hopefully this was helpful. Maybe it helped you out in deciding if you wanted one of these palettes perhaps. Hope everything is going really well with you guys. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.